Next speaker is Maria Stankevich, the Business Development Director from Exmo. It's also a crypto exchange, and the topic will be crypto exchanges, challenges, and insights. Maria, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Maria Stankevich. I'm the head of business development for the Exmo crypto exchange. Today, I'd like to talk about the challenges the most exchanges face now. So let me start with the presentation I prepared for you guys. So here we go. A few words about us if someone doesn't know. We've been more than 70 years in the market. We are one of the largest spot exchanges in Europe. Most of our clients are from Russia and Ukraine, but some big clients, some big whales are from Asia and EU. We have SEPA, we have SWIFT, we have 8 fiat currencies. We have plenty of possibilities for big traders and retail traders. We just applied to FCA for registration as a crypto company, and we also applied to FinCEN to the US to become one of the players on the US market. All the info about Exmo you could ask me later in the Telegram chat or email. You will have my contacts on the last slide. So let's proceed with the topic. I think you need to see this slide in the next one because that's kind of very important slides that actually show how important the topic of fraud fighting on the crypto market is. So here you could see all the exchange hacks over the last year and their effect on the market. So you could see the BitHome case was quite big, and I will tell about it later. We see that Binance case was quite big, and you could basically see how big the market effect of all these frauds and hacks. The next slide is also kind of very important because you could see the number of exchange hacks and the total value stolen by year. And what we see here that neither the number of the exchange hacks, neither the total value of the stolen funds is going down. It's still quite impressive numbers in the last year and the previous year. So the main question is how to learn to prevent fraud and criminal actions on the crypto market. And I could give you the answer straightforward. In no way you could prevent fraud and criminal actions on the crypto market. The only thing we could actually do is to mitigate the risk of the fraud occurring. So I'm not staying in here in vain. I believe that we are one of these exchanges who actually are good with fraud fighting. And we have developed some very curious and very interesting ways of fraud fighting. So I'll tell you later about them. So to start with, I believe that we could start with some theoretical material. We could start from the fraud types. The first one is users who do not care about their own security. That is actually my favorite topic. You have no idea how many users on the market, they have the same passwords for their accounts on Exmo and their, for example, passwords to their emails. Or how many users just write down their passwords in the notebook and just place it somewhere public. That's my favorite topic, absolutely. But you'll be definitely bored if I continue with that. So moving on. The next topic is exchange hacks. You actually saw on the first slide how important the topic is and how crazy the topic is on the market. We are lucky, and I actually promised our CTO before this speech that I will not continue with this topic, not to attract bad luck, because we were never been hacked. But still, I'd better not. So the third topic is kind of really also cool, the dirty money from the hacked exchanges. And I will continue with this topic. I believe it's quite interesting. And the BitHome case that you saw on the first slide, I will evaluate on that. So you probably heard that starting from January 10th, there appeared the fifth AML directive, that actually changed the landscape of the crypto market like dramatically. So first of all, now we have 100% mandatory verification of all the users. And you could imagine how big this topic is, and how many negative feedback and how many negative reviews we got after we started to do the mandatory verification. Of course, you could also imagine how many clients we lost. Even despite we did have this verification feature for some of the payment systems for bank accounts, because we have SEPA, and most of the users that do some kind of good volumes, they already been verified. But a lot of users, they started to complain, they moved to the other exchanges, but we need to do what we need to do. Second one is definitely tracking transactions. I will go a little bit on that, because I know that even journalists, they sometimes ask me, what is the transaction monitoring? How does it work exactly? So basically you could see here, like the terrorists, they have this Bitcoin address that someone could actually send money to. And that's kind of thing we try to prevent. And that's why we use some tools like CipherTrace, for example. So the system rates some wallet, like we saw the wallet on the previous picture, as a criminal one. And all the wallets that somehow connect to this wallet, for example, if I send the money to this wallet, my wallet is already marked as, the wallet that was touching a criminal wallet. So basically that's kind of the system, the whole chain. And the CipherTrace marks every wallet in this chain as a suspicious one. So it's kind of very, very intelligent, very smart system. So now we could track money that go to, or they were used in the, for example, drug selling, or some other illegal activities, and we could block this money and start to investigate. I go a little bit back. So what we have here also is they're reporting to NCA about the cases of fraud or suspicious activities, and some other good points. For example, like using NamesCon for checking the verification documents, and for checking the sanctions list, and so on. So moving on from this theoretical part of my presentation, I'd like to show you the case actually that we are proud of, and that we managed to, to implement all of our strategies here. It was a case about a year ago, maybe a little more. The money was stolen from BitHump exchange, BitHump. It was about the $19 million. So the hackers stole a private key, and so the money went to a few exchanges. You could see this on the screen. So Huobi, HitBTC, Exmo, KuCoin, Changely, and some other exchanges. Most of the money went to the Exmo exchange. I'm really proud of our compliance team that actually monitored these transactions immediately. So we have this big guidance book at Exmo about the compliance, about how to proceed with the compliance, and what transactions could be suspicious or we consider suspicious. So for example, there were a few transactions relatively big with relatively the same amount of years. All the accounts were new, and at that point, we didn't have the mandatory verification, so it wasn't necessary to verify your account to deposit the money, to deposit the crypto at least. So our compliance, it was actually late evening in Moscow, and our compliance team just called me and was like, yeah, that's kind of really suspicious transactions. What do we do? And we have the Telegram chat with a lot of big exchanges, relatively big, and only at that point, the BitHump team, they called us and they were like, guys, some of the money went to your exchange, please check, please block. And we said like, yeah, guys, we already blocked this money, so yeah, so we're good. And it took us 6 months actually to return this money. And that's kind of also very important and very interesting because, first, what they did, they reported to the Korean police and Korea Internet Security Agency. Then there was an investigation, and then only after the investigation, we managed to return this money to the BitHub team. And that's kind of, we felt like there were plenty bumps on the road at the time. And I believe with the regulation that is what is going to be soon, I believe that this road would be much easier for us. But it was a success. It took us like half a year. Here in the slide, you can see 4 months, something like that in the time frame. And we were the only exchange that managed to return the money due to our compliance team. And that's actually also why it is so important to have the compliance team, to have these cases investigated and so on. The other scheme that is kind of really, it's even more difficult for us than the BitHum case, for example. It happens a lot, actually. That some exchange or some coin, they got hacked and some money goes to Exmo. And it's like, it's relatively not big numbers, around, for example, $1,000. And it used to be like that because we didn't have the verification at the time. Now we have it, but still. And we didn't manage to understand these transactions as the fraud ones. So the money goes to the wallets of the legitimate users. And that's the problem also, because during the investigation, we could not even tip off users what's happening because it's against the AML thieves directive. All our staff at work, even designers, we've been trained via this AML5 directive procedures, and we could not even tip off these users that something is wrong with your crypto, and they are starting to get really nervous, and they start to write on the forums like Exmo blocked our money, this is a scam, scam exchange and so on. And what we can do nothing. And that's actually still that's kind of good, because the exchange or the coin, they report to the NCA, and the process is starting to go, and still finally we tell them the reason for blocking, blah blah blah. So that's kind of okay case. But the next one is absolutely, it's awful, because sometimes when the exchange lost their money or the coin got hacked, and money goes to Exmo, so we go with the second scheme, and it goes to the wallets of the legitimate users. And the exchange doesn't want publicity that, who wants to say like we got hacked? No one. So they don't want publicity, so we could not do anything. We could not even block this money on their wallets of the legitimate users, because it's against the rule. If they, for example, report it to the police or to the NCA or whatever, whatever body is in this country they exchange from or the coin from, so we are good. Then we could block there until the investigation is, it's going on. But now we could not do anything. So it's still, it's crypto stolen, but it is even not marked as stolen. So that was like the first big, paragraph about the fraud fighting and how important it is, and how important the fifth IML directive. And now they connected to that. I'm sorry, again, as a conclusion, I forgot. So that's basically a very important topic, as you know. And what we lack, really, we lack users blacklist and addresses blacklist. And I know that some of the companies like CipherTrace, they already, established some systems that have this user blacklist. And I believe that IML Fifth Directive also require this users blacklist, and it will definitely help with the fighting fraud. The second one is easy access to the exchange community. So we had this Telegram chat with BitHamp, and that was definitely helpful because it was super fast. It was super, like because sometimes you don't even have the contacts on the website of the exchange, and if you like feel like contacting someone because you have some suspicious thoughts, you could not even reach out for the guys because for a lot of exchanges it's still unknown who owns this exchange or that exchange. So that's like the third one that I was talking about is the internal guidance on the suspicious activity. Of course, it's super important that your staff was trained, and our compliance team, they're 6 7 years in the market already, so I believe they see these transactions even just from the top of the head. And of course, the fourth one, I believe the most important one, is the desire to go an extra mile. Sometimes it's like it's easier to do nothing, and it's easier to still we could, for example, we could forget about these whatever BitHump users, whatever stolen money. That doesn't matter. No, it matters because it's all about the market. It's all about the players that should um, combine and do this market better. And the second one, like a conclusion, or when we move in from the fraud topic and all the preparations we made for this, we are currently in the situation when crypto exchanges don't satisfy neither clients nor banks. So we are in this system right now where mandatory verification, for example, or transactions monitoring, or for example, when the user deposit like 80K euro, and we need source of funds, because we need to be sure that this user is not like he didn't steal this money, for example. And sometimes with especially VIP traders who deposit large sums of money, they got really irritated and like, why you need this? You know me. Of course we do know you, but it's like, we are stepping into this big regulated society, and that's good, but clients doesn't understand that sometimes. All these double checks and unpredictable laws. For example, we don't know what FCA says about a lot of stuff, and maybe like 3 months later, some coins that are listed in our exchanges, or some users, they will be outlawed, and that's the risk we take right now, and that's the risk we put in the agreements. That's the risk our clients really don't like. And for banks, it's still like like it used to be. For most of the banks, crypto means fraud. Like the compliance check is like 3 times longer than for the usual payment system, for example. Crypto means drugs. Still, we have this, especially in Russia. If you talk about Russia, crypto means drug. That's definitely equals. Even if we say like we monitor these transactions and we try really hard, it's like it's the same. It equals. So basically, crypto is any illegal action. Crypto no experience. We just try to prove that, come on guys, we have the experienced team. We have like all the team that are based in Europe, that used to work for the big companies, for the big even for the big fours. But still, crypto, we are all young. You're all young and unexperienced in the eyes of the bank, not willing to cooperate. So sometimes it means for the banks, like when we say like, of course we willing to cooperate, we would like to to have all the practices, all the compliance practices. They're like, looking at us, are you sure? Like, not really trustable. And of course, unpredictable laws. No one wants to deal with the situation when something, especially regulation, is not predicted. So we are kind of like right now, facing a big challenge, because clients are not satisfied and banks are not satisfied. And, by banks, I also mean like governments, they're not satisfied either. So, the next step, I feel like this year will be the year of the big step for crypto. So let's hope And that was it. All my lines are here, so you're welcome to ask me any questions regarding anything, Exmo, cryptocurrency market, or just anything. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria, for your interesting topic. It's been about crypto exchanges, challenges, and insights.